Hey everyone, welcome to Nerds Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are going through a bunch of news, the biggest one being, of course, the PlayStation 5 showcase. We're going to go through the game announcements, our thoughts on it, the release date, the price of the PlayStation 5. We'll dive in a little bit about the pre-orders and the fiasco that was. And of course, the surprise Nintendo partner showcase that just dropped the day after out of nowhere in the morning and announced some decent games that are coming out for the Switch. So stay tuned. We'll run through all that in a second. But before we dive in, we just wanted to let all those, the uninitiated, know that here at Nerds Talk, we're trying to develop a community that is family friendly, a great positive community. So if you like what the content that we provide, please consider subscribing to our channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Click that like button, drop a comment below. We'd really appreciate the support. And with that, let's dive right in. So, Chris, PlayStation 5 showcase.
Man, I've been waiting for this for so long. The Xbox kind of, just quickly dropped the video that was leaked and then, sent out a tweet that had all the information. But this, PlayStation, they kind of had everything scheduled. Mm-hmm. It wasn't leaked. So they were able to do, I think it was about 45 minutes roughly, the presentation. So it was able to, go over the system and some new games that they're, releasing or some games that they've shown in the past, just to highlight it again. So really looking forward to it. Finally get the release date, the pricing, which was huge. So everyone was kind of up in the air. So it's been a big few weeks, but I really enjoyed the presentation they put on.
Absolutely. I think they really killed it. I think that's the one thing that Xbox didn't have that maybe they wanted to, and because it leaked, they didn't. But I mean, it doesn't stop the fact that they can't still show a presentation with games and try to get the hype going. Like I don't know. I would assume that if they had something planned, they still would have went through with it despite a leak. Yeah. Like send the tweet out, but then still show this amazing video. Clearly, they didn't have something like that planned. Otherwise, you would have seen something. So that's kind of disappointing. But I guess they showed everything they needed to show. They had their first party event. They had the third party event. They didn't feel like they needed another big explosion of games. I guess they showed everything that they had at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, PlayStation did it right. They came out of the gate with a quick, highlight reel of all the games they showed at the last event, which was a lot of, first party games and PlayStation exclusives and stuff. And then they jumped into this one when pretty much the majority of everything was all brand new announcements. Not necessarily a brand new game that wasn't announced, but like these weren't shown in the last.
Yeah, first time kind of viewing the trailers and the rumors that were out there, some came to fruition. You got to actually see the game trailers.
Yes. So I thought it was a really, really strong showing, and then they showcased the price and the release date and all that stuff, and it was just came out with a bang, and they just wrapped it up well. It's like, you know what, it's probably gonna have a sticker shock for the price, but maybe if we show all the other stuff you're getting with it, you might realize like, it's worth the extra money because I'm getting all these experiences not on Xbox, right?
Yeah.
So let's just run through the announcements here, and then we can dive into any of the ones that we kind of feel are definitely more excited. So these aren't in the exact order. I'm just going to run through the announcements as they come up here. So Final Fantasy 16 was announced.
Yeah.
And that was an exclusive. It said coming exclusively to PlayStation. So I was like, they got Final Fantasy 16. That's huge for them. It's a huge RPG.
Yeah.
Great opening there.
And Final Fantasy's always kind of been with PlayStation. Like I feel like they've always run off of the PlayStation. I don't remember them on many other than like PC and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not
really like an Xbox.
Yeah, I mean there are a few of them that are on Xbox now. Like Final Fantasy 15 did release on Xbox, but I mean it's associated with Sony. Even though back in the day it wasn't Nintendo. Final Fantasy 1 to 5 was all Nintendo, NES, and then Super Nintendo, and then it switched over to Sony with the big Final Fantasy 7 was the biggest like boom, and then it's always been Sony.
Yeah.
And then this last generation, some of them kind of spilled over to Xbox finally. And then, of course, they released a bunch on Switch and all that kind of stuff. But, it's generally been associated as a Sony style. It's not their IP, but you think of Sony PlayStation when you see Final Fantasy, right?
They've always had a strong partnership, it seems.
Yeah. So they talked about Spider-Man... Miles Morales.
Yep, that was a nice little trailer there of a little bit of gameplay and how
how seamlessly it went from cinematics to gameplay, and
it's beautiful.
Looked great.
I mean, I knew it was going to look great because they did that. The first kind of running of the system for the PS5 was the original Spider-Man game, and they're just showing how fast it was going without any delays and loops. So I knew that they're the Miles Morales one was just going to be just as seamless because they'd already tested on the original Spider-Man game and they know the mechanics and the way the game plays. So was really looking forward to seeing that gameplay. And you're right, this between the cinematic and the actual game and everything, it was just very flawless, and it adds to the story. So you get to see kind of a movie, but you're also playing in it, and it kind of goes back and forth, so you can really get into it that way.
Yeah. Now this one was teased at the last event, but this is where first time you're going to see actual gameplay. It was just kind of like a weird trailer. This is like gameplay and cinematics, and you kind of see what the game's about and like who the bad guy is and kind of the powers you're going to get and just how exciting it's going to be. And I was like, I'm all in for this.
Yeah.
Looks great. Then they jumped into a completely unexpected Hogwarts Legacy.
Yes, I mean, rumored to be in production for
years.
The
RPG has been. So we know that this is the RPG game. So there's going to be a lot of specialty customization in your class and stuff like that. But it looks like it's not just in Hogwarts. It looks like it's the whole world.
You can venture outside of it and see all the beasts or the potions, and you can kind of specialize in things or dabble in whatever you like the most, spells or whatever it may be. So it's going to have something for everyone. The sorting hat, which it'll be interesting to see if you decide what house you're in, or if it randomizes it or whatever it may be, or maybe it asks you a bunch of questions, and depending on what that is, it'll sort you that way. But looks very crisp and clean, beautiful. Always love any kind of Harry Potter, Hogwarts, that kind of experience. Fantastic Beasts and all those things. So definitely really piqued my interest, and I know both of our families are big into Harry Potter as well, so I'm sure that's something that we'll all dabble into.
Yeah, and it takes place in the 1800s, so it's before the movies as far as we know. So you basically are setting up a legacy, kind of like what happened before Harry Potter and all that stuff, so you can it's very open-ended because there's nothing that's treading in this area you have to worry about ruining canon. There will be an overarching story with a villain or two potentially, and who knows, maybe there'll be surprises. Maybe we'll see some characters somehow pop up, or relatives of characters or something. So it's just very exciting. I can't wait to see what this turns into, because we didn't see much of game. I mean, in the trailer we saw moments that look like gameplay, but we didn't see what's the interface, what's like the combat going to be like, is there skill trees, like what is this going to turn into? Is it going to be a lot more puzzle exploration, because we saw a lot of mystery stuff and opening portals and things. So definitely is going to be some exploration and puzzle elements to it you would expect in a game like this. But being an RPG, leveling up, having customization, making your character truly your own, different from everybody else. And is this going to be an online interactive game with other people, or is it going to be a completely solo experience?
That would be interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Then we jump into Resident Evil Village trailer. So again, a game that we knew about earlier. It kind of showed more of it.
It's just a quick little trailer that
Yeah, Resident Evil 8.
Exactly.
It's coming.
Yeah,
I have that for you. They showed Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. We got a complete
gameplay
mission.
Yeah.
Looked great.
It looked so good. Like as I said last time in one of our videos, really into that kind of strategic, actual format and things like that. So definitely something that piqued my interest, and seeing the gameplay just made it even more, intriguing for me.
Oh yeah, looks great. They jumped into Demon Souls remake. A little bit of that game, how they remade it. It looks pretty, all up res and stuff like that. Deathloop looked really interesting.
Yeah,
they actually showed
looked different than the first time that we remember seeing it. A trailer of it. It looked very more. The graphics looked a lot different and
more updated.
Newer.
It looked a lot more cartoony, and it looks a little bit more real towards the realistic side. At least that's how I remember the original revealing of it. But we got to see a little bit of a mission, and it looks like that besides the whole you have to try to kill all 8 people in a single life. If you die, you go back in time and you have to do it again, and you learn things as you kind of go through. But we find out that there's a little bit of cause and effect, and how you interact with things or what you do may affect how someone else behaves, and that may make your mission easier or more difficult depending on what you choose to do and how you approach it. So playing through the game multiple ways can change how you accomplish your missions. It looks interesting. It's a very nice way of changing up the dynamic of a first-person shooter. I thought it was a really good
it looked like, I don't know if it's side missions or if it's during one mission, but if you do other things, there's cause and effect, like you said, which was very cool to see. If you kind of disrupt this guy, he ends up coming to the party instead of discovering this great breakthrough that he's been working on. So it's cool that way, where you can really affect and change the gameplay.
Yep.
exciting.
So it looks pretty interesting. They jumped into Oddworld's Soulstorm, which is the newest game in that franchise. You know, more of that gameplay. Nothing that I was really interested in myself, but you know, more for the people who are big on that franchise. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach showed a new game for that. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. It showed that visually it looked amazing. I think it talked about it is planning to get 4K 120 frames per second, which is really high for a game like that.
Very high. It looks very clean.
Optimization for Fortnite on PS5. It's going to be coming, and you know it's going to run better and all that kind of stuff. That's great. And then another big surprising announcement was the PlayStation Plus collection for PS5.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to put a pin in that because there's one other big game announcement at the very end, which was God of War 2 Ragnarok.
Unreal.
Like I thought it was way too early to announce this. Save this for next year.
Yeah.
But it was a big announcement. Everyone was getting excited. You know, we knew it was being worked on. We know the new Spider-Man that's being worked on, Spider-Man 2, not the Miles Morales, but the actual official sequel. And we figured those would come out in the next year, one next year and one the year after. But for them to kind of showcase this with all the games that they have coming, I was like, you know, they could have held on to this for next year's like summer reveal.
Yeah.
And they chose not to, and maybe it's coming a lot sooner than we expected.
It could be. And I think that it was also strategic on them to kind of drop that saying, especially because we'll talk about the pre-orders.
Yes.
You know, this is something else to really look forward to. Make sure you get our system so that you can, you know, play this game. You don't know when it's coming. It may be in the new year. Maybe
we know it's 2021.
Yeah,
they did say the year, so
but
I was like
right at
I
the beginning,
or I would assume the end
for Q1, Q2. Like, so it'll be interesting to see. But it's just that kind of temptation, you know, the carrot at the end of the stick.
Get the system now because all the stuff is coming sooner than you expect, and you want to get on it right away. And it's just like
2021 is going to be huge for games, so make sure you have, you know, the system ready, and then when the games drop, you can just kind of go and bang them off as you get them. So.
Absolutely. So that was great. Really well done.
Yeah.
We showcased the price of the systems, $399 and $499 American for the digital and the standard edition. However, when you did the conversion, the PlayStation Standard Edition actually ended up being $30 more than the Xbox. So Xbox, which also is at $499, is selling at $599 Canadian, but the PlayStation is $629. So they charged us an extra $30 for whatever reason in Canada, which I thought was sucky. For the Blu-ray drive, $100 is more than sufficient to cover the cost, and
sure.
That extra $30 just seemed ridiculous. Yeah. But it was what it was. I don't believe that the PlayStation 5 should be more expensive than the Xbox, regardless. Even though the U.S. price is the same in Canada, I thought that was really silly because the Xbox are getting better hardware when it comes down to it. When you're looking at the RAM speed, the graphics card, everything like that, it's a higher piece of tech. So it should have the higher price tag. So if you want to sell it at parity, it's one thing, but to sell it a bit more was a little bit of low-handed, I thought.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought that, again, the system is great. The games that you're going to get on it is phenomenal, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that ecosystem, and
exactly.
They are not doing here is a bump up, kind of like a PC. You can upgrade your graphics card, you can upgrade your RAM, and get a better visual experience as more games come out, but you can use the same platform as long as you want to, right? An Xbox kind of is having that sort of dichotomy, that idea that Xbox is going to be a platform that, you know, you buy a game, it'll work on an Xbox. Doesn't matter what Xbox you have, it'll work on an Xbox. Yeah. And whatever game you invest in now will always be with you on the next Xbox or the next Xbox. Just like a PC. You buy a PC game, you want to upgrade it 5-10 years later, you still have that game. It's yours, right?
Yeah.
But PlayStation is saying, no, this is a new generation. PS5 is not PS4. Your PS4 controllers will not work on the PS5. There is backwards compatibility. We believe you just throw the disc in and it's going to work.
Yeah.
We haven't got 100% confirmation if that's how easy it's going to be, but they did confirm that a lot of the games that they announced as PS5 games will be available on PS4. Miles Morales being one of them. Horizon Forbidden West will be available on PS4, shockingly enough.
Yeah.
In addition to PS5, and if you buy the PS4 version, you will get a free upgrade to PS5, which is great because the only sad side of this news is that the PS5 games are launching at $10 higher.
Yeah, Canadian.
So $79 Canadian versus $69 Canadian, which is a bit unfortunate. I know games haven't jumped up in price in a long time, but they are pretty expensive as they are. Like, they're already extremely expensive. And when you have 2, 3, 4 big titles throughout the year, it adds up quite quickly. So it's a little unfortunate that the price is going up. But with the benefit of buy the PS4 version, save the money, and then you put it in the PlayStation 5 and you're getting the PS5 version with all the better graphics, why would you spend money on the PS5 version? That just seems silly. Unless this backwards compatibility is something they're going to disable in the future, and then you're forced to buy. I don't know if that's their plan. Xbox seems to be doing it right.
Yeah.
Everything's available, digital, physical, it doesn't matter. You own the game, you can play it, whatever platform you want, and away you go. And I thought that was really, really smart. So it'll be interesting to see how the backwards compatibility really works.
Yeah.
And what are the limitations on it, and when does that PS4 to PS5 upgrade stop? But for the foreseeable future, we know that Horizon, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and then there was another big game that I'm missing out right now. Ratchet and Clank will be available on both PS4 and PS5 is my understanding.
Which I'm surprised Ratchet and Clank, because
I think that was one of them. I could be wrong.
Right, like directly for PS5 because of all the quick,
quick loading
and stuff like that. So.
I could be misspoken. It might be another PS5, like a Sony exclusive game, but regardless, like a lot of the new releases that are coming within the first 6 months are all going to have PS4 versions as well as PS5. Even though the last conference made it seem like they're all PS5 exclusives, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to know you can buy the PS4 version, save the money, play it now on your PS4 if you don't want to upgrade it, or even if you have a PS5, buy the PS4 disc, put it in your PS5 system, and you still get the exact same game experience. So that's good to know. At least I know I'll be able to save some money for the time being.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's interesting. And then with the PS Plus, they showed that you can get all these old games, the PS4 games and things like that.
That's right.
And then the price for that is free.
Absolutely. So let's run through the list. So they said that this is going to be available at the launch of the PS5. I believe that was what they said, launch of the PS5. But anyhow, or it's coming to PlayStation Plus. I'm pretty sure I thought I had read it as that launch. But anyhow, these PS4 games will be available for no additional charge as long as you have a PlayStation Plus subscription. Yeah. So God of War, the first one, Last of Us, the first one, Uncharted 4, Thief's End, Battlefield 1, Monster Hunter World, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 15, The Last Guardian, Ratchet and Clank, the first one, Infamous Second Son, Days Gone, Bloodborne, Detroit Become Human, Batman Arkham Knight, Mortal Kombat X or Mortal Kombat 10, Persona 5, and Until Dawn, and Resident Evil Biohazard. So all of these
prequels to the sequels.
A lot of the games that are coming up kind of get caught up. So it gives you, even if you just want to buy the console and don't want to buy any games yet, you have a huge library that's available for you, and they're all great games. Yeah. The newest games that came out on PS4, like Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, are obviously not on there yet. Yeah. They're obviously going to make their money, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this show up in a year and a half.
Yeah. Eventually they'll want their chance to get as much money out of the actual game disc before putting it onto any PS Plus systems and stuff like that.
Great value. The fact that you're not spending a dime on it, like any additional costs, like where Xbox you have gold, you still have to pay extra for the Game Pass. Yeah. This is like, well, you're getting all of these exclusives, but it's not just PlayStation exclusives. You're getting third parties. You're getting Battlefield, getting Monster Hunter World, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy. These are all third party games that, like, Final Fantasy 15 is also on Xbox, so it's a great value that they're also throwing in third-party games that are AAA, like really great quality games at no additional charge. There's no additional subscription fee, so that's great on them. Now, are they going to follow the suit with Xbox and remove them, like a Netflix after a while? I really hope not. Yeah. I hate that whole recycling. If it's once you have it, leave it on there forever. Why remove it? Like, that just seems ridiculous.
I feel like they will, because I feel like all these third-party companies are charging them subscriptions to have it for a certain amount of time, similar to Netflix and things like that. They have a contract where they're allowed to show it for X amount of years due to the contract, and then they can either renew it or they can, pass on it and update it with something else. So I just think with their system, they're probably going to try and limit it to a certain amount of data and storage for these games, and maybe switch things that aren't being played often, or the contract's money too much, and switch it with either newer games that have been out for a year or so, and kind of freshen it up that way. But it'll be interesting to see if they do something different and break the mold.
No, that's interesting. That's a good point. What do you think about the first party games, the PlayStation owned games? Do you
There's
think they'll stay on?
no reason why they shouldn't stay on. They own it.
Yeah, give it free, give you a taste. Yeah. 2 months later, okay, these are gone. If you want, you can buy it now.
Yeah. No, I would have a hard time believing that, and for them to explain why they did that. They can explain, oh, well, our contract ran up, they wanted too much money, or whatever, we want to freshen up for you with third party. But if it's your own, then you're not paying anything for it. It's not a subscription. The only thing I could see is them taking one off that's maybe wasn't well received, or not played a lot, or not downloaded, or whatever, and try and get a newer game that's fresher, like Ghost or whatever it is, that will obviously
cause people to
explode.
subscribe or whatever.
Yeah, explode for subscriptions and downloads and things like that. That I can understand, but to say that it was a cost or a subscription or anything like that, that would be hard to kind of explain.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, I mean, the only way that they could take these away, and I mean, people can't get mad, is that you're not paying extra for it. The reason why I think that the Xbox is like, I won't say underhanded, but the fact that you're paying to have access to these games, and then they remove it, and it's like, well, I have 100 games available to myself. There's no way I'm going to get through all of them. So I download like 6. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this one, then this one, then this one. By the time I get to the third game, it's gone, and I can't play it anymore. And it's like, well, I paid to have access to these games, and now they're gone. Now I don't get to play them. How is a person ever supposed to get through all these games in the small amount of time that they're on the service?
Yeah, not everyone stays at home all day and plays games. Like, it's very rare that you can do that. And, and people are busier and busier, throughout their lives. It's hard to sit down and commit to games, but to have it on there and have the opportunity, I feel like playing this, or I want to finish this, it should be up there, especially if you're paying for that added service.
So I think that on the Xbox side, it's a little shady. I don't like that idea of removing the games, especially if you've downloaded them. Like, you paid the subscription, you downloaded them. Maybe if you delete them and it's off the service, you can't really re-download them. But if you downloaded them, you're playing it, you shouldn't lose access to it because they removed it from the service. You paid for that service to have access to these games, and as long as you're still paying, you should be able to continue to play these games. So at least on the PlayStation side, you're not paying extra for them. It's just a freebie, so you can't complain if they remove it from that perspective. So with that being said, hopefully Microsoft finds a way to do a little bit better. I don't foresee their Microsoft games ever leaving, but the third-party games clearly are cycling in and out, and if I had known that before I had initially subscribed, I probably would have waited until there was 2 or 3 really great third-party games that I wanted to dive in first, and then I'm like, I'll get to the Xbox Ones down the road when these are all gone, right? And so I did subscribe for $1 and get that converted over, which is a great deal, but it just feels like, okay, I have these 3 games I remember they announced 3 months ago. I'm gonna jump into that game, and it wasn't even on there. It was gone already. I'm like, that sucks. So but very interesting, very exciting for those of us. If you're playing online, you're paying for the subscription regardless. I didn't mention if they're stopping the free games of the month with PlayStation Plus. So if that is still happening, you have access to that game forever as long as you're paying the subscription.
That's right.
And now you have a bunch of new PS4 games that you can play at no additional cost. Get you all caught up and refreshed before the sequel.
It's launch. A great idea, right? Like, maybe you didn't
encourage you to buy that new game in the launches.
You get really hooked onto it, and you're like, I can't wait for the sequel. The sequel comes out, you're like, okay, I've already played the original game or whatever it may be, the last game, and I want to jump into that right away and keep going. I know especially when you jump into games with different controls and configurations. So once you're into something, you're like, I just want to keep continuing playing it, especially if you enjoy the story. Then you get to jump in, and that should increase sales. So overall, great presentation. We're really excited about the majority of the announcements there. I know we're not a big fan of the horror games, so Resident Evil, not big for us. Five Nights at Freddy's, big deal. But a lot of the other games were really exciting. And then at the end, they showed another sizzle reel again of all the games that they had showed previously. So it's like we still have Horizon Zero Dawn. We still have, I'm drawing a blank now, but the whole slew of other games that they showcased at the last conference. It was just so many. I was like, this is phenomenal. Like Warframe, is it? No, it's not Warframe, but the game, the Godslayer game, we're all fighting. It's just the amount of exclusives and the amount of stuff that's available. The variety that's available is outstanding, and a lot of these games are exclusive to the PlayStation that they showcase. That it's like you're not just getting. You're still getting your Assassin's Creed. You're still getting, I assume Cyberpunk will have a next gen. All that stuff is going to be there. But you also are getting all these you can only experience on PlayStation. So if you're going to buy an next-gen console, you're getting more for your money going this route versus... the third-party plus the exclusives, right? Yeah. So you get best of both worlds kind of thing.
So we're hoping that Microsoft's next big reveal will reveal what all these extra studios have been working on. How many more big surprises are, like Harry Potter wasn't listed as far as I can see as an exclusive, but the fact that it was listed sandwiched between 3 or 4 exclusives makes you think, this was revealed only on PlayStations. Is this a PlayStation game? Everyone's thinking right now it is. It's definitely not. It's made by WB Games, so it's going to have they're going to sell as many copies as possible, so it will more than likely be on Xbox, but Sony does pay for timed exclusives or, a 3-month window of getting it first or a year or whatever it is. Yeah. So will Microsoft jump in, throw their hat in the ring? Will they fund a game to get it early or get it exclusive on their platform for a certain amount of time? Only time will tell.
I wouldn't put it past them though. They're
They
very
need
smart
something.
that way, right?
They need something.
They
in
have
addition,
to.
I mean, Halo got delayed, which sucks.
That was going to be their big
like
launch.
get this day one.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not there, so it's like, well, maybe I will win on the Xbox.
I mean, Xbox has some bad bounces the last few months with Halo being pushed back, their video being leaked, and then Xbox or PlayStation kind of jumping in front of them for
pre-orders and getting people to get on that now, because they couldn't. It's not even like
that was mayhem. Like as soon as it was on, it was off very quickly after, right?
It was very smart though.
Yes. Oh, of course.
Xbox announced the price first, and PlayStation is okay.
Yeah, our price can match that. Yeah,
we're good to go.
We're good.
Here's our presentation. Yeah. We're good to go. Oh, and you know what? Pre-orders are out right now, or technically they announced tomorrow.
The next day, boom, pre-orders.
It's available, and it's like, okay. Xbox is coming on September 22nd. Well, you can get ours now. You're hyped for it now.
Yeah.
Jump on it now, and then it's like, oh, I don't have enough money to buy that Xbox. Well, you already spent it on us.
You committed.
For those people who are on the fence. Like, I don't know, if both of them came out for pre-orders, you're on the fence, you're going to pull the trigger either way. Yeah. But for those who are on the fence, PlayStation 5's pre-orders have been selling out fast. You have to get it in. So you had to just, you know what? Screw it. I'm paying for it. I want it. That's my decision. And now you spent the money. For those who can't afford both, okay, I'm going to have to wait on the Xbox. And now the Xbox is going to suffer for it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they weren't able to get the pre-orders up sooner or matching or whatever.
Yeah, I'm surprised they left that big of a gap. You think... Once you announce something, you want to jump on the excitement of the announcement.
It does, but
everything, right?
It was leaked, so I think that leak.
They wanted to wait.
I think they probably would have had the announcement a lot closer to like the pre-order date, maybe the day before. This is the price. This is it. This is what you wanted. Pre-orders are available tomorrow. Everyone gets excited and everyone gets ready to go. But the fact that the video leaked, or they just pretended it wasn't there, ignored it. No, they're like, yeah, this is real. This is the other one. Here's the price point. Surprise! It's such a great price.
Could they push it? I guess it's too much to try and push it up. All the different vendors, the merchants.
I mean, you can. I don't see why you can't send an email to the
vendors,
the relationship, the contacts you have there, and saying, you know what. Change the release days. Do it right away. Like, let's get it going. I mean, they don't need the product at hand. You're basically paying money to reserve a console. The console's still not coming till November 10th.
Yeah.
PlayStation 5 is coming November 12th.
Yeah.
It's just to get people to spend the money or try to reserve their copy now. And with everything that came out, it would have been smarter for Xbox to say, you know what, PlayStation pre-orders are going up. Call them. Release them tomorrow. Let's get them going and send out a tweet. You know what? For all the excitement, we want to get our pre-orders up now. Let's get them and get people. You know what? Xbox is coming out tomorrow. Oh, you know what? I was gonna buy the PlayStation right now, it's selling out. But you know what? It's only a day. I'll get the Xbox instead. Knowing that they have a week, let me secure my PlayStation because I can't get it, and then I'll figure out next week and see what happens.
One I really want. Yeah.
We'll see if it hurts Microsoft at all. But again, it's all about their ecosystem. And right now, as long as you're buying Game Pass, you can stick with your old Xbox. Play all the latest games. You don't have to worry about it. You're good to go. And that's, for me, has made my decision. So let's jump into that pre-order. So the pre-orders was announced to come out the day after on the 17th. But they ended up going on later that day.
That night I got an email from Walmart.ca and it's like, oh, you can now pre-order them. I was like, what? So I sent you a screenshot saying,
it's available.
This is up now. We got to jump on this if we want to get it. I hesitated. And got distracted and did not jump on it, but you did.
Oh, well, I was waiting for Amazon. I was waiting for Amazon because I had gift cards. So it went up on Best Buy. It went up on Walmart. It went up on London Drugs. It went up in EB Games. EB Games site crashed.
Oh, yeah.
What a fiasco. The pre-orders went up. They were out for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and they were gone.
Yeah.
That's how quick they're going. And, of course, the digital edition, shockingly enough, sold out way faster than the standard edition. Now, I understand you're saving $100.
$130.
And the systems are the exact same minus the Blu-ray drive.
That's right.
So you are getting the exact same experience from a performance standpoint, whereas the Xbox, the cheaper box, you're actually getting less capacity. You're getting less, horsepower.
Yeah, the system is definitely downgraded for the Xbox cheaper version.
So some people figured, well, for $100 less, or in Canadian dollars, $130 less, I mean, the exact same box, I can get all my games. That one sold out first. I don't need the Blu-ray drive.
Yeah.
Now, for me, being a physical collector, I like to have my games knowing that in 10, 20 years, 15 years, whatever the case is, I can play my game. My internet goes out, I can play my games. I don't have to worry about, I don't have an internet connection, I can't download my game. Or, God forbid, the service goes out, and now you can't access any of your games. My physical games will work just fine.
Yeah.
So, once I buy my game, I own it forever. On a digital service, you buy it. The convenience, I understand the convenience. You never have to switch games. You never have to get up and find the disc and put it in and reinstall. You just go to your library, download it. It's there. It's from your couch you can switch games, 5-6 games in a row, and away you go. On Switch I have digital copies of games. I get the convenience of it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But if there was somehow a way for me to if I was able to buy a physical game and get a digital copy that I can install and I'll have to put the disc in, that would be the ultimate addition for me because I just like knowing that the money that I'm spending, I get to keep that product forever. I don't feel like I'm losing anything that I've invested in. And things like that, like with Netflix, you spend your monthly amount, and you're like, okay, I have this collection of movies, and then 6 months down the road, you want to go watch one of the movies, and they're gone, and it's like you don't have that movie anymore. You've been paying for access to something that you technically don't have anymore. Like it's a facade. You don't actually own any of this stuff. Yeah. Whereas with a physical copy, you own it. It's yours forever. So for me, I was like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. I'm jumping on the standard despite the extra price. But the digital edition did sell out first,
which I'm not surprised. There's a lot of people that like to go digital nowadays and stuff like that. But so to each their own. But so they've been selling like hotcakes. Everywhere it's sold out.
It hasn't gone up on Shoppers as far as I know yet.
It did. So it went up and now it's out of stock. It was up.
It's quick.
Yeah. So just like all the other things, I believe Toys R Us didn't do an online.
Nope. I think they want to do in store. As most of their toys, they like you to walk through that store. And so I don't know if they're even doing pre-orders in store or they're just going to do release date. Lineup and release date.
So it might be interesting to see. Oh, those lineups are going to be nuts on the.
Well, they are, but it's going to be cold. It's going to be November.
Yeah, November 11th. A lot of people are going to be standing outside, camping out, waiting, just like, the Apple things and the old systems and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting to see. I don't foresee there being any delays in getting the system out. I think they have all the materials kind of caught up from the pandemic and things like that. Yeah. So I don't see anything that way, at least. So it should be interesting.
And that's a good point. I think another throw the wrench into this whole mess of the situation is that they did say that there will be limited amount available for the initial waves of pre-orders because of manufacturing and stuff. So they said that the original, I think it was PS4 launched with, and I could be wrong here, it was either 5 million or 10 million consoles or something like that at launch. And this one is significantly less. Yeah. So it may have been 10 at PS4 and this is at 5, or it was like 5 million at PS4 and this one's at like 4 or 3. So there's a lot less available. Yeah. And because of that, more people who want to jump on it are like, I have to get this pre-order right away. And so they sold out even faster. It was just a mess. So sites getting crashed. Apparently it was a lot harder in the US to get it, which is a much bigger area for the PlayStation to sell with a much bigger population. Yeah. But in Canada, it wasn't too bad. If you're up and available like I was, and you're waiting for the pre-orders, it went live, I was able to jump on it, get it, secure it before it went out. Now, unfortunately, Amazon was the only one here in Canada that waited until like 1:10 in the morning. Every other one was done within the first hour and a half. Like 3 or 4 stores had gone up, and pre-orders were up and out. Yeah. And I'm like, why do I have to wait this long? And I'm like, now if I waited this long and then it sells out, then I missed all my pre-order chances when I was literally there, available to get each one, EV games and stuff and all that kind of stuff. So it was frustrating, but I was able to get it. I was happy about that. I'm excited to see the launch. I did not pre-order Spider-Man or any of that stuff. Like I said, I've been saving Ghosts for PS5. Yeah. So I have that game to play. And then Avengers. I've been playing Avengers lately, and so that's kind of my game. I'm really excited to play on PS5 to get the instant load times. That's going to hugely improve the game and get a little bit of better visual. So I'm hoping that when it launches PS5, I get my free upgraded PS5. I'll be playing that probably at launch for the better experience. Yeah,
it's very exciting though. Very exciting. Yeah, now I gotta hunt one down.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll find a way to get it. Yeah. But so I mean, Xbox Series X pre-orders will be out next week or this week at the time you see this video on the 22nd. It'll be interesting to see how quick they sell out, if they do sell out, and what the situation is with them. Microsoft did put tweets and said, don't worry, we will like announce the date, like we've announced the date, like the pre-orders will go up at the proper times, and although we may not have stock for what was the quote, something to do with like not having a certain amount of stock, whatever, we will definitely have this and this available on this date or whatever it was. It just was like we know that this was a mess for Sony, we're gonna do it right, that kind of thing. Also, apparently Sony, there's a way to sign up for Sony to potentially pick you as a person that gets an invite to do a pre-order. Oh. Yeah, so some people sign up for that. I didn't see the link or where to go to sign up for that, but apparently people were getting picked. And they were saying that it was going to be based on like factors like how big of a fan of PlayStation you are. I guess they check your gamers, like your trophies, and check your maybe like how long you've been a subscriber and all these kind of reasons. But then there were people that were like, I've owned every PlayStation, PS Vita, what's the other PlayStation Portable? PSP.
Yeah.
And they've owned every system, and they have like all this game score. They've been being a subscriber since it launched and all this kind of stuff, and they didn't get an invite. And then their buddy got an invite who's only had it for like 2 years. So I think it was just random
probably
how they did it. You sign up, we're gonna pick someone at random. And so yeah, some people basically got invites to get a guaranteed pre-order.
Wow. For
these people that I guess it's direct from Sony, where they'll ship it to your house from their headquarters. So if you get that invite, you're pretty much guaranteed to get one. All right, so for those who got them, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's an extra way of getting a system for you, which is awesome. But there will be more. There will be more PlayStations. The question is will it be? It launches in November. The first wave comes out. Would the next wave be available in December for Christmas? You think they'd have to have a second wave by then?
I think they're hoping because cash in the most.
You need to, especially when everything sells out. Right? Everyone's looking for them. Yeah. Oh, here's a second wave. Here's a third wave. They got to get it out for Christmas as much as they can because that's when people want to get them under the tree. They want to reserve them, want to pre-order them. So I'm sure there will be more
pre-orders. All the kids are going to ask for it, from Santa or whoever it may be, and Santa's going to have to work hard for that one.
Absolutely. So it's very exciting. Again, crazy mess, the pre-order situation, but they did it. It went up. A lot of stores kind of put them up a little earlier than expected, but that was the situation as it stands right now.
Yes.
Now that wasn't the only news this week. The other big news was Nintendo dropped some surprise direct, a mini partner showcase out of nowhere Thursday morning. They've done this multiple times, but they just show up a dress. Why not give people ready? Is it because they're worried about all the people who get hyped up and then get disappointed when it's not meeting their height levels, where they just wake up and get a direct? They can't expect anything, so it is what it is, and they're happy for what they get. I don't know if that's their intention. But with all these small directs, I still question why they couldn't have just did a big direct earlier on and got a lot of these announcements out of the way.
Yeah.
It would have made everyone happy and a lot excited for what's coming up. Don't get me wrong, the treats of extra Nintendo Directs and extra surprises is always great. But it's frustrating that it's like I woke up, there's a direct and people are talking about it and they spoil the surprises and spoil the announcements. It's kind of frustrating. And you're kind of not sure where Nintendo's going and what else is around the horizon. Let's go through the announced game list here. It was crazy. So they opened up with Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter Rise is a brand new Monster Hunter game that seems to be exclusively for Switch. It looks great graphically.
The graphics are like
it's
phenomenal.
Not cartoon down.
Yeah, it's not the typical Monster Hunter type graphics that they've had in the past.
Yes, that's right. So it looks really, really great. And it's exclusive to the Switch. Excuse me. You have special mounts you can get in there, Palamute and Palicos, and you have this new crazy dragon type and all this kind of stuff. So it looked great. Really, really excited for the Monster Hunter fans to getting this on the Switch, play it on the go.
Yeah.
In addition, they announced another Monster Hunter game, a follow-up, a sequel, Monster Hunter Stories 2. What do they call it? Wings. Where is it here? Wings of Ruin. And this is the more cel-shaded, cartoony, RPG-like version of that kind of game, and I'm sure it'll sell well. Well done. They also didn't announce in the Nintendo Direct, but they apparently had right after a Monster Hunter Focus Direct where they went in depth into the games, and they announced there that there are 3 new amiibo coming out for the new mounts, essentially 2 of the mounts are one of the new monsters, and so those amiibos are coming out at the time of the launch of the game, and that is March. So both these games are due out March of next year. And we'll get to that release date in a sec. But a game like Rise with the graphical intensity that's going to have, you'd expect frame rate issues like Breath of the Wild had when the Switch launched. And it seems like if they're releasing this, they probably have figured it out or have a reason to release it on Switch in this kind of graphical style without any problems. So we'll discuss that in a second. Yeah. They jumped into Fitness Boxing 2.
Yes.
Rhythm and Exercise. Is there anything you wanted to jump in here before I keep going to the list?
No, I just think it's interesting that they opened up with 2 Monster Hunter games, which is great. It's great for them, especially one being just for the Switch. And then, they're still trying to get into the act of... Nintendo's always been, we're active, we're getting healthy and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was nice to see them kind of get into a boxing where you can multiplayer as well. You can have 2 players doing the same kind of thing. But I enjoyed seeing that.
And that's coming out this year.
Yes.
December 4th. We have Disgaea 6, so a new entry into the series. Yeah, this is very, very exciting. Huge following for Disgaea, and so that's coming to the Switch. That's amazing. One of the big things they're talking about is like the damage meter is going to go into like the quadrillions.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I don't know if that's a running thing
yeah.
for Disgaea. It's like the game you can do the most damage. I don't know if that's a thing, but I guess for those who like to see those crazy damage numbers, you can chasing a really high number in this game.
Yes.
They went back to Empire of Sin, that mob themed game set in Chicago. The release date for that is December 1st of 2020, so this year.
Yeah. So it looked interesting. It was kind of puzzle based, but also RPG kind of game from what I remember. And the main antagonist was it the female that was the main antagonist there? Kind of
the voiceover definitely sounded like that.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. It wasn't quite my game, but the trailer looked intriguing.
Absolutely. It's sort of like the Switch's version of a GTI kind of open world game where you can do crime and do kind of crazy stuff going on. Then they talked about shooting people in Sniper Elite 4. It's planned for this holiday. The Long Dark is getting a Switch release later today, so that was available immediately.
Yeah.
Then they went back to Hades, which is a Supergiant's game. The kind of roguelike game where you die multiple times and you get better, get new skills, and kind of get through that game. So they showed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically coming to Switch today. It was a shadow drop as well. Balan Wonderworld. This was announced on Switch at the beginning of this year, I believe it was, and so they kind of brought this back. Funky 3D platformer made by the two Sega legends. Kind of gives you a Mario vibe where you have all these different outfits with different powers, and they kind of get through all these different platforming worlds. And there's a lot of different variety in terms of like an ice world and a snow world and hot world and water world and you name it, right? So you're kind of going through using all the different powers and finding new ways to complete new objectives. So it looks like a fun.
Yeah, it looks like you can team up as well and share your abilities.
That's right.
Well that way.
Co-op.
Yeah, so you can kind of team up and use your abilities together. And it seems like some of those levels you really require that to get through it.
That one comes out March 26th of next year.
Another March one.
Another one for March. We have Room Factory 5. It's coming to Switch sometime next year. You can ride a sheep. Also, totally novel narrative twist. You play as a young person with no memories. So they're kind of trying to get a little bit more into the story and kind of have this through line through the game. And then they ended with a nice surprise.
That was a nice surprise.
Something I didn't expect. Ori, the Will of the Wisps is coming to Switch and it was available like today. And I was shocked because Ori is a great game. They released it on Switch. I thought it was phenomenal. Like, it was a great Xbox get. I played it as soon as I was able to. Loved it. And now that I've officially signed up for Game Pass, I started playing Will of the Wisps. Phenomenal game. But they had a lot of performance problems on the Xbox One X, which is a 4K system. So I'm like, how are they going to run this on the Switch without the same problems? Turns out they've ironed out the majority of the problems on the One X. And obviously, they have a newer version coming for the Series X that is even prettier. Yeah. But I guess ironing out those issues, they managed to get it to run good enough on the Switch. Probably will have a lot of the bloom effects and like particle effects toned down, but the main gameplay is there, and it's a great game from what I played so far. So it's a great get. But the other surprise was there's this awesome collector's edition.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. You get both games it. You get a bunch of other items that come with it.
Yeah, a nice little pin and art book, and just the box itself. It looked phenomenal.
It looks so good, so good. So I didn't see a price, but there's a special website to go get that. But I wonder how quickly that will sell out as well, because it's a huge following for that game, and to have that collector's edition, there's only, at least for me, there's only so many games that I would want to get a collector's edition, and that's kind of one that is intriguing. And it looks great. Absolutely.
Now, for since last year, there's been these rumors surrounding like Xbox partnering for Nintendo, in order to bring Xbox Live to the Switch.
Yeah.
And that's never come to fruition. We've seen like the first partnership was with Cuphead, and then shortly followed after was the Ori, and we're like, oh, okay, they're just bringing some games on the Switch, which is cool.
Yeah.
Getting some Microsoft exclusives now available on the Switch, not available on PlayStation, but on the Switch.
Yeah.
I think Cuphead finally released on PlayStation. Maybe not. I could be. I can't double check that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was Microsoft exclusive, and then I was thinking, okay, they're giving everyone a taste, and it's like you really like this game, get the rest of the games on Xbox.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're releasing the sequel to Ori on there, again, still no Game Pass, makes you wonder like, were they ever having the intention to bring Game Pass or Xbox Live, like the games, to the Switch, or do you think that perhaps that's something that they've been holding out on for something better.
Hard to tell. I think the biggest issue is you're paying for a subscription for Xbox, you're paying for a subscription for Nintendo online. So no one really wants to give up their slice of the pie, essentially. Yep. And how they can make that work where you're paying for both, but you can play it on Nintendo. I think that's always going to be like a tricky hurdle for them to climb. I know Nintendo is great because it's so cheap to do for the year. Xbox is a little more expensive, but
monthly. You get your party chats, you get all this community rooms, and there's so much stuff that's included in Xbox Live that would make the switching online gaming platform better. Jumping into multiplayer games with friends much easier.
Yeah, so I'm sure they're still working on a deal. I think that's just the biggest hurdle. How are they going to partner? Is it going to be like a mixed price, or is it going to, everyone gets a percentage depending on what they do? So it'll be interesting to see how they roll that out. But I think it's a great partnership, to be honest. PlayStation is probably kicking themselves a little bit not to have this partnership earlier. There were kind of rumors about that as well. But Nintendo doesn't really compete against Xbox, so they're kind of a better fit.
Especially with games like Banjo-Kazooie and games like that Rare they own that can play on that kind of, that can cater to their audience. Yeah. I think that when taking a step back and looking at the holistic situation that we have at hand, we know about the rumors of the Switch Pro. We've heard my predictions on all that stuff, and I've been thinking about that, and I'm like, okay, well, let's say that all comes true. March being the 3-year anniversary of the Switch, they want to release the new Pro. Breath of the Wild 2 is my prediction that they're going to release it as a launch title. Better on the Switch Pro. Will work on the Switch. Yeah. But it's better on the Switch Pro. No frame rate dips.
Better graphics.
Better load times. Better battery life. Whatever the case is. So it's like, okay, that seems like a strong possibility. But then if you look at it, what else is launching in March? Well, this new Monster Hunter game that is graphically intensive, which would make sense. Like, why would they wait now? Like, they launched, Monster Hunter Stories on the 3DS. They launched, like, these kind of games on a platform because the graphics are toned down. They are different. They're cartoony. They're not requiring as much horsepower to, like, crank out.
That's right.
Big environments to load. Like, maybe they're bringing Rise to the Switch now, and it's coming into March because it's going to be optimized for the Pro. Yeah. Because these developers already have the dev kits for this better system, and so they're like, you know what? Now's the time to bring this kind of these kind of games to the Switch because we can. And now games like Witcher 3, which was visually not as impressive, can now be bumped up on the Pro. Yeah. And now these games for developers who said we can't bring our games to the Switch now have the opportunity to do so. And jumping back on the Xbox thing, maybe it's their time at that point to say, Game Pass will now be available on the Switch for a price because now these games can be played with better hardware, and now you're not going to have a crappy experience. And maybe that's what they're holding out for. And maybe that's why Ori's coming out today, but it's going to be better on the Pro. Yeah. And a lot of these games that are making their way are going to be better for the Pro. So I think it's all aligning. March, that month of March, we're going to watch out for. Why is all the Mario games ending in March?
Yeah.
It seems like a really silly idea. They're going to pull the digital versions of these games and the physical versions. Yeah. Maybe on the Switch Pro, they're going to offer the N64 console, and they're going to have some of these games available, like 3D All-Stars and that kind of stuff available as part of a subscription service going forward. So if you bought it, you own it. Yeah. But on the Switch Pro, you need the Pro, and it's got better hardware. You can play all this stuff, and it's all available with the new emulators and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you need the Pro to play it. Otherwise, if you had bought the game, you can play it on your previous version. So I think there's going to be a lot of surprises for Nintendo for next year. And speaking of next year, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Oh my goodness. Like 2021 is just going to be fantastic for gaming.
Oh my goodness.
It's just so many drops that are announced, coming. And it could be, another system, like you said, the Switch Pro. There's just so much. It's going to be one of those, like, I know we've talked in the past where it's just like some years it's jam-packed with these big, titles that you just can't get, and then other years are a bit slower. Next year's definitely going to be one of those years where it's just jam-packed, and you're really going to be hard-pressed to pick what games you can, you want to play and that you will dish out the money for, and the ones that you'll pick up later, maybe 2020, that are on sale, and catch up that way. But it's going to be very great for all gamers in 2021.
I completely agree. If you just look at the big titles, so we have the Harry Potter game, we have God of War 2, we have Miles Morales is this year, but we know that Spider-Man 2 is in the works, probably be the year after. We have Halo that's been delayed. We have Mario 3D World, a potential Breath of the Wild 2, probably some more Zelda games coming out for next year, a potential new Mario Kart entry, or some other big AAA Donkey Kong, Rare Metroid Prime 4. Yeah. Is that possible to come out end of next year? Is it too soon? Bayonetta 3 that's been delayed since it's been announced when the Switch launched, and it still hasn't come out. So that could be coming for the Pro, maybe again performance reasons.
Yeah,
it's going to come out next year.
That makes sense.
There's so many big games coming, a lot that I haven't even mentioned, but like next year is going to be huge. You know, Gotham Knights. Like, there's so many games, so many big games that it's like must play games that I think it's going to be one heck of a year. And man, it's going to hurt my wallet.
The bank account's going to feel it, but it'll be very, very exciting. And, especially with the uncertainty of what's going on with the pandemic and such, a lot more people may be indoors. It might be something good to keep people busy and a good time for these things to come out and still keep people together online and safe.
Awesome. So, any final closing thoughts on the craziness that was this week?
Oh man, just so many announcements. Just trying to figure out, if you were on the fence about which system to get, you really had to make a game time decision quickly, at least to hold your spot. And if you wanted to cancel, you can cancel it once you kind of see the other system, in front of you. But yeah, it's just a hectic week with all the announcements. A surprise drop from Nintendo with their Direct. So very exciting though. Love it.
2 to 3 weeks ago, you had told our viewers that you were at the point where you were pretty much convinced you were going to go with the Series X as the first one and wait on the PS5. And then this will happen, and now you're like, no, I wanted that PlayStation now.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like you said, you see the presentation, you see the exclusives, you see how great it looks. And then you see it up online and you're like, oh man, I gotta kind of pull the trigger. Yeah. And like, I don't want to miss my chance. Do I want this or do I want the Xbox first? But if I don't get this now, then obviously, like I am right now, stuck without the PS5. So, I still don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm still on the fence about what's going to happen.
I mean, for me at this point, like I said initially, I'm waiting for a discount. I'll wait for a Black Friday sale, a discount. Wait a year, Xbox. Maybe 2 years for the Xbox. Maybe we'll do a revision in 2 years. Still have like a Series X bump up, or a revision or a slimmer version, or maybe we'll see at launch. Is there any related issues, technical problems with any of these consoles? So I'll wait on the Xbox because I have Game Pass. I'm good to go for the next couple of years. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And with all the amount of games that are coming out just in the next year, I'll be so busy that I'll be on my PlayStation because of these like third parties. Again, that'll be my next gen box.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I'm not going to have time to play both consoles plus Switch. So I'm like, I can wait on one. Xbox is the one I'm going to wait on. The good news is I can still experience those experiences if I feel the need to immediately.
Yeah.
But PlayStation 5, for me, it was like those exclusives are just like, mean more to me than right now, at least, the huge library that Xbox is bringing to the table, the backwards compatibility of all of their systems up to now, plus a lot of third parties that is now available on their service. I feel like that's great. There's stuff there for everyone, but speaking to me now are the first party exclusives, and that's my Zelda and Mario on Nintendo, and it's games like God of War and Spider-Man and Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, and that's what's pulling me in. And because I can't get that experience on the other consoles like I can with Assassin's Creed and with Cyberpunk, when I have this console that gives me all those exclusives, I can still play those next gen. So for me, that's just the total package.
I know. And that's what almost got me as well, with especially seeing the exclusives and things, the announcements. You got a War 2 that's coming out, or Ragnarok. I should have pulled the trigger, but I got distracted.
The good news is you will get one. At some point, someday, you will get your hands on it, and I'm pretty sure we'll get it before the end of the year. We'll find a way. I'll try to, if I see pre-orders, I'll try to jump on for you, but we'll find a way to get it.
I dropped the ball. There's no way around it. I just dropped it. So it's all good.
We'll figure it out. But there you have it, folks. That was the week. Crazy week of game news. It's been crazy this whole year with the pandemic and how news has been doled out. We had another Ubisoft Forward last week, and then this week we had a PlayStation, we had Nintendo Switch, we had all sorts of crazy news. But what was your most crazy surprise announcement from the PlayStation 5 showcase, from the Nintendo Direct? Let us know. Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What are you most excited for? And did you get yourself a PlayStation 5 pre-order, or are you waiting for that Xbox? Let us know. Drop a comment below. Click that subscribe button. Like the video. And as always, folks, stay nerdy.